Hey, what's up, 180 Fit? We all know that these have been stressful times, and a lot of people are dealing with anxiety, depression, dealing with the unknown. Troubles can come our way, and so today I want to talk to you about what to do when you have the anxiety, what to do with these troubles, and how we can make our lifestyle so we can actually deal with it. And so the first thing I want to talk about is cluttering your mind. Are you familiar with Marie Kondo? Before she swept the world into an organizing frenzy, right, with her Netflix show and her series of books, all of this revolves around her method of cleaning and organizing. The books were bestsellers, though not as popular as the show would be. The point is that everyone got caught up into organizing the material goods. It wasn't a straightforward spring clean. The method required an assessment. Does the shirt, letter, card, book spark joy? If it doesn't, then let it go, but not before you thank it for its service. There is an almost spiritual aspect to that technique. Were you one of the ones that jumped on the bandwagon? I mean, I think us all did to some extent. It's interesting that people jumped on the cleaning frenzy trend, but people aren't as quick to jump on the cleaning of their soul. And so what is cluttering your mind? What is holding you back and damaging your personal growth? What troubles keep you up at night that possess your attention in an unhealthy way? We all have worries and troubles, but have you ever stopped to ask yourself whether or not it's worth your energy? So wasting precious energy on things that don't matter. And a lot of times when troubles come our way, when things hit us, we put a lot of energy and time to things that really don't matter, or more to the point, into things that we really have no control or influence over. We try to control external circumstances and the actions and behaviors other people take. Yet how often do we pay real attention to our thoughts, behaviors, and actions? It's madness, really. You can control you, but you get caught up trying to control everyone else. Think about it as this example. You recently completed a pitch trying to secure a new client. You worked really hard presenting compiling the presentation. You practiced your presentation repeatedly, researched the client, searched the subject, and spent laborious hours to put it all together in a convincing sales pitch. These are things that you had control over. Your control, your input. Now, the pitch is complete. There's nothing more you can do yet, right? You worry about how it went. Is there any real point in worrying about your pitch? Because you can't influence the outcome. You had your chance to exert your control. You did it with your pitch. Now it's in someone else's hands to worry about and waste, and worry is wasting your energy. This is just one example, but I think it's a great one. How often do you find yourself worrying about things that you cannot change? At least once a day, I'm sure that all of us find ourselves doing that. What is that, though, is create this unnecessary stress on our mind and our body. It stands between us and joy. How can we experience and enjoy the day if we're busy worrying about all these things we can't control? Or according to an article from Huffington Post, around 85% of what we worry about never comes to fruition. Moreover, if the expected outcome does not happen, around 80% of us said that they handled it far better than they expected. You'll be a healthier, happier person if you let go of those worries instead of stressing about them. The truth of the matter is that you don't control most of what happens during your life. If you resist this truth, then you will stop, you or I will find ourselves attempting to micromanage everything. And I've been there before, and man, it's a miserable life. You don't want to delegate, but you want to force people to change. Some people convince themselves that if they get control of a situation, then they can prevent anything bad from happening. Other people recognize that they can't stop the bad things, but they spend their energy and time worrying about the bad things. They worry about the deadly diseases. They panic about natural disasters. They allow those worries to occupy their time, energy, and focus. It doesn't do them any good. So do you waste a lot of your time, energy, and focus worrying about things that you can't control? It's important to recognize that these habits are chasing you. If you make a habit out of worrying about every little thing, you are painting yourself into a corner and making yourself powerless. When you make yourself powerless, all these troubles, fears, and worries have the power to overtake you. They pile up when you allow them to chase and overpower you. It's difficult to climb out from underneath them when they pile up, though, isn't it? I think we've been there. And how do we get rid of these headaches and break free? So let's talk about breaking free from troubles, accepting and thriving through uncertainty. Life is beautiful, even though it's unpredictable. In fact, some of the beauty is found in the unpredictable of life. With the unknown outcomes, come opportunities and excitement. This is how we should see it if we want to get rid of those troubles that aren't worth our energy. Put our time and energy into things that we can't control. Work hard to achieve what we want. This is all the power that we have over. The world will have its say regardless. Remember, you can only control your input. So accept that and thrive on the uncertainty of life. And next, let's talk about leaning on friends. And friends True friends, not toxic friends, okay, are the greatest sounding boards. A good friend isn't afraid to tell you like it is. You need someone like that in your corner. You need someone who will listen to you, correct you, and point out when your worries are unrealistic or realistic. Sometimes just talking to a friend is enough to take the weight off and help you recognize yourself, how much time and energy you've been wasting on something you can control. Next is be mindful. Mindfulness is an excellent tool to help you focus your mind, and I'm going to my free mindfulness playlist should be coming up here in a moment. Mindfulness meditation is all about focusing on the moment, shutting everything else out. The focus is on your breath, purging your mind of everything else, and just enjoying what it is, and really just focusing on what you're doing right now, right? Because if I'm focused right now, I'm not worried about the past or the future. It won't get rid of your troubles forever, but it will improve the ability to focus on what matters. The more you practice mindfulness and meditation, the better you will be at, and the easier it is to actually dismiss the troubles you can't control. Creative distractions. If there's a trouble you can't shake, consider pursuing a distraction. While this isn't a great plan for long-term freedom or from troubles, it will manage them as you start the process. An activity that allows you to fully immerse in it and shut off everything else is a good place to start. The activity you choose should completely absorb you, so you quiet the troubles and worry thoughts that shouldn't be able to creep in. Designate space and time. If you want to take full control of your troubles and other situations aren't working, then assign yourself a worry period. I use this with my kids when I taught. Assign a designated space or time for your worries. Grab a pen and paper, go to your worry spot, and give yourself like 90 seconds, right time, and just write. Empty your head, heart, and soul on that paper, and just let them go. Helicopter view is really helpful. If there's anything more frustrating than a friend who always says, okay, but look at the big picture. It's endlessly annoying, but it's true. By zooming out and acting like, and mindfulness and meditation helps with this, because you can zoom out and you look at the situation, you don't judge it as good or bad, but just what is. You look at the big picture and you're changing your perspective. It's easy to obsess over troubles when we're zoomed in, right? Zoom out, float above the situation, act like that's your friend, and you give them advice. Look at the trouble on a larger scale. It's much easier to see how important those troubles are when we allow ourselves to gain perspective. Another great exercise is to imagine yourself in a week, a month, a year, in 5 years, and ask yourself how much influence this trouble will have on your future self. Work. Look at your troubles and worry as a sign that you need to act, okay? So often worries and troubles spike when we have a deadline, when chores or a building or when something is looming. It's time to act. While stress management is wonderful, sometimes the only way to get a hold of those troubles is by taking that ACT action. Know when troubles are begging for completion and when they need to be dismissed. More importantly, be prepared to do the work necessary to resolve the issue. If this is often a source of your troubles, then maybe we need to look more at your time management abilities and look at my habits and my time management videos. Setting limits. Often troubles stem from resistance. Our resistance to saying no when no is the only possible answer. Are your troubles due to inability to set boundaries and protect them? I used to struggle with this big time. I was really bad with my boundaries. Limits are important in life, especially when it comes to managing stress. You will never get a hand on all of your troubles if you allow everyone else to monopolize your time and energy. Learn to say a hard no, okay, when you need to, and it's okay. Prioritizing is what troubles you coming from unrealistic expectations and ability to prioritize. Do yourself a favor and have realistic expectations. If your schedule for 4 hours of errands on top of 3 hours of tasks, don't expect to fit it all in 4, right? Hour-long meetings as well, as you commute and relaxation. Think again. You just made up everything worse. You're going to fall behind. I love it. Dean Garziosi said, figure out your buckets. So, like, what I have is I know my 4 main buckets for the year. Like, if you have my business, right, I have my health, my family, friends, my faith, like, and everything fits into those buckets. And if it doesn't fit into one of those buckets, then it's a no. Okay. And that really freed me because that's the one who couldn't say no. And I was trying to fit everything into my day. And I still sometimes over plan, but I give myself that leeway now where I was like beat myself up if I didn't get it all done. Okay. Next, let's talk about postponing it. Suggested designated time for worry, right? I said about designated time for worry. If there's a trouble plaguing you, postpone it. Give yourself a break from the mental wear and tear and deal with it later. It means that you're allowing yourself to focus on what you need to right now without completely dismissing the worry. And when the comes time, you can pick that trouble back up and work through it. Don't just sit and worry about it until the time comes, though. Do the actual work you need to at hand. Ask questions about where the trouble is or worry came from and break down. Sometimes you have to track it, that like we're doing with COVID, we have to track where it came from. Sometimes you have to track where your problem came from. Next, stop. If you've tried everything but you still cannot shake the trouble, then give this or halt. Who goes there? Sorry, it's time to stop. If you can, look in the mirror and make eye contact. I've done verbalize it in order. I'm like, stop it. While this is an unusual method, it's one just different enough to derail the troubling thoughts you're having. You can't just leave it at that. You're going to have to actively think positive thoughts and keep them at bay. So take yourself to a happy place. Self-soothe. Speaking of happy places, it's always good to celebrate, create a detailed visual of what your happy place looks like. So visualization is real important. You can retreat there if necessary. Next, focus. It's easy enough to get lost in your head as you try to understand what you feel. So strongly, about each specific trouble. Don't forget about the external world. While you can't control it, sometimes paying more attention to it and what needs to be done is more effective than asking what you're feeling. The question about what needs to be done encourages you to reframe the trouble. And next, imagining the worst. And I just recently this past year learned about this one. It really works for people. Some people, this is the way to it. If you cannot stop yourself from imagining the worst, then let your mind imagine the worst. The trick here is to take the line all the way to the extreme. For example, your trouble right now is whether your interview went well and have to secure a new job. Naturally, you're thinking things like, if they don't hire me, I'm going to run out of money. Then I'll lose my house. Then I'll have to live with my parents. Everyone I know will talk bad about me behind my back. Eventually, I'll end up homeless because there's no way my parents will kick me out. Once I'm homeless, I'll struggle to feed myself and I'll dead. Let the absolute worst case scenario play in your mind. Once you've done this, you can recognize that all the points at which you have control, and you create a plan to deal with those issues. While the worst case scenario rarely occurs, you still have control and influence over a variety of the stages in the scenario that would allow it to play on your mind. When you let it play out in a way that you recognize how ridiculous you're being and what concern is reasonable in the situation, when you find a responsible concern, you can find appropriate solutions. So rehearse. It's time to flip the script. Instead of picturing the worst case scenario, try to rehearse success. This is particularly useful in situations where you are in trouble. As in, you have an interview coming, you have a presentation due, you're meeting someone new, you're meeting your family's partner or your partner's family. Instead, you're worrying up and picturing the worst case. Instead, focus on rehearsing you successfully navigating the situations. Of course, in this case, interviews and presentations, you have a lot of control over your performance. These situations are all about your input. The outcome is out of your hands, but control what you can, where you can, and learn where you can't. Anticipate success in these situations to increase your performance and the chance of success. It will boost your confidence and help you manage worry. Gaining control of your troubles. Finally, you can drill down into each of your worries individually. The advice that I previously have stated is general and helpful, but if your troubles and worries are bigger, then continue on. First, determine your sphere of control. When you are in the midst of worry, take a time out. This is your opportunity to look at your trouble and examine what control you have over it. You might not have control of the weather, but you can't stop a tornado from coming. But what you can do is prepare for the tornado. Just like you can't control the behavior of others, but you can control your reaction and response to them. Determine your sphere and control with which Determine your sphere and control with each of your troubles. Why would you spend your time and energy anywhere but on what you can control? Focus on your sphere of influence. Now that you have a better idea of what you can control in relation to a specific trouble or worry, now it's time to focus on your sphere of influence. You can influence situations and circumstances. You can influence people. But what you cannot do is make things go your way. You can provide your child with all the tools necessary to achieve good grades, but you cannot make your child achieve those grades. You can plan the most incredible party in the world has ever seen, but you cannot force everyone at the party to have a good time. To increase your sphere of influence, you have to focus on your behavior. You can set healthy boundaries. You can role model good behaviors. You can share opinions when you feel like someone has gone off track, but you cannot fix other people. Next thing, I think this is one of the biggest ones. Identify the fear. The trouble you're focused on and worrying about, what is it exactly you're afraid will happen? Have you predicted the worst case scenario? Have you convinced yourself that you're unable to deal with the disappointment? The worst case scenario almost never happens, and when it does, it's rarely a catastrophe as imagined. Moreover, we are stronger than we believe we are. We might be thinking somewhere along the lines of, but I'll lose my job. This will, if this happens, but those but if things. Instead, you have to ask yourself, what would you do if you lost your job? You can acknowledge the worst case scenario and spend your energy into creating a plan for that what if. Problem solving and pondering. Do you know what will never be helpful? Replaying situations, replaying conversations, imagining the worst case scenario over and over and over again. Lather, rinse, repeat. This isn't helpful. Pondering, ruminating on these things won't help you. It's amping up your worry and making all the trouble seem so much worse. Do you know what will help you? Problem solving. Change the P's. Ask whether your current line of thinking is productive. If the answer is no, shift your thinking and start looking at solutions. So here are some ways to do it. Build a plan. Learning how to manage your stress is one of the best choices you can make for your health and happiness. You can limit your stress levels by getting a good night's sleep, eating well, exercising regularly. Those are base level habits to manage stress and stress levels. It's important that you make time to deal with stress. Meditation, hobbies, social situations are all excellent ways to manage stress. When you get all of these things right, you'll notice that you are much better prepared to deal with the troubles you're obsessing over. Healthy affirmations. Find out or make a phrase that will encourage you to take action. Or make up phrases that will calm you down. When you catch yourself struggling with troubles and worries, a healthy affirmation that you say out loud can inspire you and, more importantly, correct your course. It is an excellent way to snap out of the trap falling into your troubles again. It's about focusing on what you can control and letting go of the rest. So in final thoughts here, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow if you haven't yet. It's important to remember that worry is normal. Humans' worry is natural. Don't ever beat yourself up when you catch yourself worrying. However, dwelling on your troubles and holding on to headaches is going to reduce your positive emotions and increase your stress levels. It would behoove us, right, to gain control over what we can control and learn to let go of the rest. If you can change it, take action. If you can influence, do your place. If you can't do either, pay your respects and release those troubles back into the universe. Release them back into the other. So let me ask you, what troubles you? Is it worth your energy? Or is that time have come where you need to rid yourself of those headaches and break free and let go? I hope this has helped you. Please let me know what stood out to you in the comments. I would love to hear from you and let know what really stood out to you, what's helped you. Was there something that was an aha moment? Also, did this bring up any additional questions? I love answering your questions, so please, any questions that arose from this video, please post them in the comments. That way I can make another video to answer them, because if you have them, there's several other people that have that same question. I'd love to do that. If we haven't met before, my name is Jen Plykin, and I'm simply a holistic empowerment coach that takes people from places stuck to authentic thriving, when we're stuck. Through my 20 plus years as a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, nutrition coach, life and transformation empowerment coach, and as an educator for 16 years. I combined a complete program because I was at that place of stuck, running from diet fad, trying to figure this thing out. And I realized that even as a personal trainer, people weren't getting results, that it was about, we had to be fit in our mind, we had to be fit in our hearts before we could ever be fit in our bodies and make it sustainable and lasting. And that wasn't about these fads. It wasn't about any of that. It was about the micro habits. It was about living a fit as a lifestyle. So if you're looking for how you can live fit as a lifestyle in a holistic way, as a whole being, get that complete solution with real truth, real results, not always the easiest, but it's true and it's real, then make sure you do like, subscribe, follow for this someone that needs this in their life. And I love it when you guys share, and I'm always here for you. If there's anything I can do to serve you, please let me know. Be brave, be kind, live authentically, and always shine. And remember, you're just one habit away, or 180 away. And maybe that is one of the things we're going over today. All right, until next time, tribe.